Right now, an ongoing controversy in a Rock County school district. What was decided at tonight's Milton board meeting?
And Jamie Kloss's accused abductor, why he says he plans to plead guilty to his charges.
Plus, a judge hands down the sentence. President Trump's former campaign chairman, Paul Manafort, learns his fate.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now at 10.
Thank you for joining us tonight. A third-party investigator for the Milton School District has found no wrongdoing after the board president gave out more than $30,000 without board approval.
Our Amy Reed joins us live from where that meeting just ended. She has the very latest. Amy?
This was a long night for everyone. This meeting started at about 6:30, and shortly after, from about 7 until 9, the board stayed in executive session. They were meeting with a lawyer from a firm in Madison who looked into whether these payments violated state law and board policy. They also looked into whether a board member leaking documents to the press violated any of those rules. While the board discussed that, many people who live here in Milton waited. This has been a hot issue here, especially with a referendum coming up in April. And people wanted to know the truth. So here's what they waited around to hear.
So with regard to both violations, I concluded they existed, but I likewise concluded that they were not intentional. I want to make one final comment. With regard to the conduct of administrative staff, I found no wrongdoing on the part of anyone.
What disciplinary measures come from here is up to the board, but the members here tonight declined to speak to the press about what happened. Now, that attorney that you heard said that she has a full 15-page investigation that will be made available to the public, just not yet. She said that'll be available as early as March 18th, and we'll be sure to follow that release and bring you guys any updates.
Amy Reed live for us tonight in Milton. Amy, thank you.
We are getting a first look at the sheriff's deputy who was shot and killed today in Rockford, Illinois. This is 35-year-old Jacob Keltner. He was fatally shot while serving a search warrant at a hotel. A procession tonight carried his body from the hospital to the coroner's office. He was a sworn U.S. Marshal and 12-year veteran of the McHenry County Sheriff's Office. His fellow deputies say he will be sorely missed.
Jake was a great guy. He was dedicated. He was hardworking. He volunteered for the position that he served in. He came from a law enforcement family. He was hired in 2006. He's a dedicated family man, and he's just truly going to be missed.
Illinois State Police have taken 39-year-old Floyd Brown into custody in connection with the deputy's death. He's also accused of shooting another woman inside the hotel. She is expected to be okay. Brown led police on a 30-minute chase, reaching speeds in excess of 100 miles per hour. He was arrested along I-55 between Bloomington and Springfield after a nearly 5-hour standoff.
A Minneapolis TV station says the man who kidnapped Jamie Kloss plans to plead guilty in that case. KARE 11 says the suspect, Jake Patterson, replied to a letter from a station reporter. Station says Patterson wrote that he didn't want Jamie's family to, quote, worry about a trial. Patterson is also charged with killing Jamie's parents at their Barron home in October. A man who has been on the run for the last 2 years, wanted in 2 states, was arrested last night in Janesville. 27-year-old Quentin Cobb had warrants out for his arrest in both Illinois and Arkansas. Police caught up with him outside the Walmart in Janesville. When he resisted arrest, he was tased. Police say he was in possession of heroin laced with fentanyl.
A federal judge sentenced former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort to 47 months in prison. He was accused of 8 crimes, including defrauding banks and the government and failing to pay taxes on millions of dollars in income he earned from Ukrainian political consulting. He will also have to pay $24 million in restitution and a $50,000 fine. He still faces sentencing in D.C., where he pleaded guilty in a separate case connected to illegal lobbying. R. Kelly's legal problems are growing. Just days after the R&B singer posted bail for sexual abuse charges, a judge locked him up for failure to pay child support. Authorities say he will stay in jail until he comes up with more than $161,000 for that unpaid child support. Last month, Kelly was charged with 10 counts of aggravated criminal sexual assault. Authorities say 3 of the 4 alleged victims were underage when the suspected crimes happened.
Well, take a look outside. There is a chance for a little bit of snow overnight. The bitter cold has moved out, but there could be some messy weather in the coming days. Chief Meteorologist Gary Canalti, our first alert forecast from the backyard patio. Gary?
Well, we got the chance for some snow tonight. It looks like the chances, though, appear to be dwindling a little bit. Kind of an interesting situation. Madison's on the dividing line between some clouds to the southwest, where there is a little bit of snow across parts of Minnesota, Iowa, and Illinois, and then clear skies to the north and east, where the temperatures have really dropped off. So you can see we really haven't had much of any snow falling into southern Wisconsin. Low temperatures this morning were in the single digits, above and below zero through much of the southern part of the state. High temperatures today only in the lower to middle 20s. Average high temperature is in the upper 30s, so we're a good 15 degrees below normal. Take a look at the current temperatures, though. It's 9 degrees right now in Madison. To the south and west, temperatures are closer to the mid-teens to around 20. Our temperatures actually may rise a little bit overnight as clouds start to move in. Notice Dubuque, Iowa, they're at 21 degrees right now. So temperatures may rise to the upper teens by late tonight, early tomorrow morning as skies turn cloudy, and then we'll turn partly sunny, especially by tomorrow afternoon. That should allow high temperatures to be a little warmer than today, topping out at around 35 degrees. That's your News 3 Now First Alert forecast.
Gary, thank you. And representatives from FEMA were in Reedsburg tonight discussing flood recovery plans in response to last summer's devastating floods. This is one of 2 meetings this month with FEMA hosted in the city. They're looking at ways to lessen flood damage in the future, focusing on flood-prone areas near the Baraboo River.
I think it's really important when a town's leadership values reaching out to the community members and getting feedback and input, because you want buy-in from the people that live in that town so that they feel like they're guiding the future of their town.
And the second meeting will be this Saturday, the 9th, starting at 10:30 in the morning. The city says both meetings will be identical. They're just being offered at different times. An 11-year-old girl in Reedsburg is being called a trailblazer.
She is the first girl to join the Reedsburg Boy Scouts of America troop since the national organization allowed girls to join. Molly Hoff joined the Cub Scouts in September of last year. That's the first year girls were allowed. When it came time for the Cub Scouts to cross over to the Boy Scouts, Molly was asked if she wanted to join too. So without any hesitation, she said yes. Now it's her goal to set a positive example and show everyone why she deserves to be there just as much as anyone else.
Do the best job that I can do and believing in myself to do it.
Molly's parents say they are proud of her and support her all the way. They're happy to see her surrounded by friends who welcomed her with open arms since day one.
We have an update for you tonight. A cat who suffered injuries from a near decapitation last week is now in recovery. This is Henry, who we first reported on last week. He was discharged from the Humane Society and is now living with foster parents. Henry, though, has a long road to recovery. He's at risk for meningitis, had to have both of his ears removed during surgery. Humane Society workers said they found him under the hood of a car in what they believe was his attempt to escape the cold. Still ahead tonight, senior night at the Kohl Center. Highlights from the final Badger men's basketball home game of the year.
Hey, 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 hey!
And you've probably seen him at UW hockey games. We'll meet the man behind the hay next.
Heading into the Big Ten playoffs tomorrow at Penn State, the Badger men's hockey team is tied for 5th in the conference with a 5-5-4 record. Not necessarily a season that inspires excitement.
But Danica Lewis introduces us to a man with infectious enthusiasm that doesn't end with hockey. That's new at 10 and only on News 3 Now.
You've heard the saying, it's better to have loved and lost than to have never loved at all.
Losing's not fun. Woo! But it's inevitable.
The Badger faithful know that well.
It takes an extraordinary act for me to not be at a hockey game.
In a sea of 17,000, getting singled out requires proven loyalty.
Here we go.
The kind of consistency you'll find in Section 126.
I mean, when it's hockey season, I plan everything Fridays and Saturday nights around hockey games. Big deal.
Jeff Barrett guesses he's spent the last 15 years worth of winter weekends at the Kohl Center. You lose track when you love a team this much.
Yeah. Shot on goal. The thrill of being there when something special happens. That moment that you know that you're on top of the heap, that it's your team that just won. The feeling is just great, just fantastic. That and beating Minnesota.
As much as you'd think a center ice Santa Claus would stand out on his own, you might know Jeff not by how he looks, but how he cheers.
Hey! Hey! I said, okay, fine. So I'll see if I can get the crowd charged up. So I started doing that. Hey! 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 And then they started putting me on during the game. And the students were the ones that picked up on it first, and they started doing it, and then after that, it just kind of snowballed from there.
Very rare that you saw a defenseman go behind the net and look for it.
It was all by accident. Seriously.
Years fastened to his season seats, like the pins that weigh down his signature cap.
That was another accident. I used to have about 20 years worth of programs.
A retired fleet services repairman for the city.
33 years, 5 months, and 8 days.
Jeff spends the warmer months revving up his Harley.
People ask, why do you ride a motorcycle? It's real easy. I can't afford an airplane.
When a biking buddy lost his battle to cancer, Jeff searched long and hard for something he would love. When he couldn't find an urn that made the cut, he made one himself.
I think it really portrays what biker's all about. I mean, it's a real motorcycle cylinder, and the ones we use right now have actually been used, so as my partner says, they breathe fire.
Ever since he decided to remember his friend in this way, Jeff's been securing platinum nuts and bolts to cylinders and creating custom pieces for a rider's last rest. He worked hard to patent the concept and sells them to families who have lost a Harley enthusiast. Those decades as a mechanic help.
I actually got that from my father.
And along with inheriting his dexterity, Jeff never lost his dad's wit, even after losing him.
I said, you know, when your number comes up on that board, there's nothing you can do about it. He looked at me and says, yeah, but you don't have to go looking for the guy with the chalk. I don't know how long I'll do it, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Come on. Oh. I'll do it as long as I can. I'm not a young man anymore, as you can tell by the color of my beard.
Sometimes simple things catch on, mistakes turn into a legacy. But hey. Sometimes you lose, but the love is what lasts.
Everything in life, you win and you lose. It's just how you handle it.
In Madison, Danica Lewis, News 3 Now.
Strangely enough, Jeff doesn't even skate. He says there wasn't a good place to learn growing up in Mineral Point.
And if you want to learn more about the urns, just search for Riders Last Rest on Facebook, and you can contact Jeff through that page.
Let's go to Chief Meteorologist Gary Canaldi with a look at your forecast. Gary?
Pretty quiet out there right now. I've been watching for some snow, but so far most of it has stayed to our south and west. So I think the chances for any snow are going to be pretty limited. Now, as we head into the weekend, it's not so much the snow that we might be worried about, it's more the rain. We have alert days in the forecast for a mixture of some light snow, freezing rain, and rain early in the day on Saturday that will change over to rain. And we could have a fairly significant rain event with somewhere between about 1/2 and 3/4 of an inch of rain during the day into Saturday evening. And then after, along with gusty winds, and then after that, that will change back to some light snow late Saturday night into Sunday morning. There could be some minor snow accumulations before that comes to an end, but temperatures will turn colder, and if there's standing water around, there's the possibility for some icy road surfaces. Now tonight, we're waiting for the snow to make it into southern Wisconsin. Just hasn't happened. It stayed to our south and west, and you can see it's actually breaking apart a little bit. So the chances for any accumulating snow here, I think, are pretty much gone, but we might see a couple of flurries. You can see the visibility is down to about 7 miles in Des Moines, Iowa, farther south into parts of central Illinois. There was some accumulating snow today. There still are winter weather advisories there, but for the weekend event, you can see that there are winter storm watches already to our north and to our west across Minnesota and western Wisconsin. This is for snowfall through late Sunday night that could total somewhere in the 6 to 10 inch range from Minnesota through parts of northwestern Wisconsin. As far as the rain is concerned, the European computer model that I just showed you the snow from, calling for about 1/2 inch of rain here, but heavier amounts out to the west of us. The GFS computer model, the U.S. computer model, showing heavier amounts of rain here, somewhere around 3/4 of an inch to an inch of rain. If that happens, we could have some problems with melting snow and some localized flooding because of the rain. And as you can see, there's plenty of snow around. I mean, this is the snow cover right now, and pretty much from Chicago northward, everybody has snow on the ground. Some areas between 1 foot and 1.5 feet, even 2 feet up toward parts of northwestern Wisconsin between Eau Claire and Superior. So there's a lot of snow. In fact, the National Weather Service just issued their spring flood outlook, and it is calling for a pretty significant chance for flooding as the snow melts and the rain eventually occurs this spring. They're saying that especially along the Mississippi River and the Wisconsin River, many locations have about a 50% chance or greater of seeing major flooding sometime in the spring because of that. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that in the upcoming months. Right now, the Edgewater Skycam downtown Madison, pretty quiet. We've actually had clear to partly cloudy skies. Low this morning, 2 degrees, the high at 23. That's averaging about 15 to 20 degrees below normal. Right now, we're at 9 degrees with clear skies here in Madison, but the air is calm. To our south and west, temperatures are in the teens where there's a little more cloud cover. So our forecast actually calls for perhaps a few flakes of snow later on. Temperatures will actually climb through the teens and get up to close to 18 by early tomorrow morning. We could see a little bit of light snow or flurries. Tomorrow morning, clouds will give way to afternoon sunshine, high temperature at 35. As we look at future track, you can see the clouds coming in later on tonight, but not much in the way of snow chances. Tomorrow, highs in the mid-30s. Tomorrow night, more clouds, low temperatures staying in the 20s. And then on Saturday, here comes that mix, and you can see some snow, some freezing rain, and then just changing over to rain with high temperatures in the mid to upper 30s. Rainfall amounts, again, probably somewhere around 3/4 of an inch or more across much of southern Wisconsin through Sunday night. The 10-day forecast calls for colder weather in the wake of that storm on Saturday. Sunday, we're down to about 34 degrees. A quick warm up in the middle of next week. Look at that high near 50 on Wednesday with maybe even a few spring-like thunderstorms, and then temperatures turn a little colder after that. But we have to get rid of this widespread snow cover before we can see any kind of an appreciable warm up. Of course, you get rid of the snow, and that leads to flooding. So pick your poison.
Right. Let's just stay here right now and let's think. All right. Thank you, Gary.
Sure.
Can you feel the madness already? Big wins in March for both the Badger men and women today. The highlights next in sports.
Well, the top 4 seeds in the Big Ten tournament get that coveted double bye. Now, the top 3 are already clinched, and the Badgers could get number 4, but they would have to win out to guarantee that spot. And that started tonight against Iowa. Last game at the Kohl Center for these 3 Badgers tonight. Charlie Thomas, Khalil Iverson, and Ethan Happ all taking their final walks out onto the floor. Now, Khalil's ready to go from the start. Okay, that is how this game is going to get underway. Clock winding down later, but right before the half, Demetric tries to Brevin Pritzel for 3. Wisconsin led by 9 at halftime. In the second, Iverson to Happ. He lays it in, 40-26 Wisconsin. What a night for Ethan Happ, the senior getting a standing ovation, blowing kisses to the Kohl Center crowd. He put up 21 points, 14 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 steals. And Greg Gard couldn't be more proud.
On a senior night, you want to go out on a great note, and I think this group, those 3 guys, have done a really good job of helping this program grow and transition, and obviously play well last night at home, so that's always a good thing. So.
Now, 13 hasn't been a lucky number for the Badgers women's basketball team in the past. Wisconsin was the 13th seed twice in the Big Ten tournament, and they lost in the first game in both of those years. But Jonathan Sippis' squad already beat Penn State yesterday, and today looking for an upset against 5th-seeded Ohio State. Badgers were down by double digits at the half, but picked it up big time in the second. About 6 minutes ago, Kelly Carlos, all by herself, knocks down the 3. Badgers with a 7-point lead. Later, Kendra Van Leeuwen playing some defense. Carlos steals it away for the fast break layup and 1. She had a career-high 24 points. Wisconsin beats Ohio State by 10. The Badgers are the first 13th seed in Big Ten women's basketball history to advance to the quarterfinals, while they'll face 4th-seeded Michigan. And head coach Jonathan Sippis giving major props to some of his most experienced players.
I think at this time of year comes to your seniors, and the 2 biggest players that stepped up, obviously, were Marsha Howard and Kelly Carlos, making shots, getting stops for us on the other end. And once we got the lead, you could just see, then all of a sudden that play in the day before, you forget about it. You know your season might be ending right there. Put everything in you have.
Well, it's going to be a busy few days at the Resch Center for girls basketball teams across the state. In Division III, Marshall trying to get to that title game for the second year in a row. First half action here, Soraya Morel averaging 4 points per game, scoring 13 in the opening 13 minutes for Marshall today. Later in the second, Cardinals going on a 10-0 run. Bailey Neuberger with back-to-back 3-point plays, and Marshall wins 58-37 to face Laconia in the D3 state title game, and that's what they're focused on now.
We still have a game, we're not done yet. We still have one more. We have to focus on ourselves, play together, and have a lot of fun. Try to stay positive.
To the boys now, they're in the sectional semifinals, DeForest versus Mount Horeb. That's where we start here. Second half, Mount Horeb's Gunnar Nortman finds Dusty Zentz for the big 3. Vikings up big. Later on, DeForest Austin Westra splits the defense, gets by another defender, lays it in off the glass for 2. Norski's chipping on back. Then Mount Horeb's Nortman finding a wide open Jason Larson for the bucket, and the Vikings get the 79-64 win. They'll face Elkhorn on Saturday for a trip to the Kohl Center. To Division IV now, New Glarus taking on Fenimore. First half, New Glarus' Jaden Krecklow from behind the arc. Knights up early. Later on, Fenimore with the miss, but Kellen Kenny with the board and the putback to put Fenimore within 4. A close finish here as New Glarus will get the 45-42 win. They'll play on Saturday against Belleville for a trip to state. We'll be right back.
Gary's here with a final check.
The chances for snow, I think, are diminishing as we go through the night. We still could see a few flakes, but I don't think we'll see anything that'll stick to the ground. Most of it has been to our southwest across Iowa. You can see a little bit of light snow trying to develop across Minnesota that could be in here later on tonight. But right now, skies are mainly clear from Madison eastward. To the south and west, though, there's more clouds. You can see visibilities right now at or above 10 miles, so no issues there. There are winter storm watches, though, north and west of La Crosse as we head into the weekend. Current temperatures, you can see 9 in Madison, but teens to our west, and high temperatures will be in the 30s the next few days.
All right, thanks for joining us.
Do something good, and we'll see you tomorrow.